Hello and welcome to the first day of 9.6. We're going to be working with factoring again today, and it's going to look very similar. However, it's going to be completely different. In today's video, you're going to notice that A is not going to be 1. They're no longer basic or simple quadratics. They're a little more complicated. So, 9.5, A was always 1. Now the leading coefficient is not going to be 1. And we're going to have to fill out our box, and it is slightly more complicated. For some of them, it's not. For example, if like A is 3 in this case, if A is prime, it really limits your options because instead of to get to t squared or x squared in the past, you just put x and x. Well, to get to 3t squared, you're going to do 3t and 1t. Now, to get to the 4, you're either going to have 2 and 2, or you're going to have 4 and 1. The two missing boxes have to add up to 8. And so you kind of got to do guess and check. So you could try a 4 and a 1, or a 4 and a 1, or a 2 and a 2. And based off how you put those numbers there, that will control these other two boxes here. So let's go with 4. No, 2. It's going to be 2 and 2. Because if I put a 2 here, and like I said, you're just going to have to play around with this. I'm going to erase these here. Put a 2 there, that gives you 6. If you put a 2 here, 2 times 1t is 2t. So together those give you 8t. And so that's what we're looking for. So our factored form is t plus 2, and then 3t plus 2. This case here, the two numbers multiply to positive 3, but they have to add to negative 7 in the middle there. So the two numbers are both going to be negative. Now, 2x and 1x are the only thing that's going to give me a 2x squared, so that has to be there. And then 3 is positive, so it's just a matter of if it's going to be negative 1 down here, negative 3 there, or negative 1, negative 3. So like I said, you kind of got to do some trial and error. So we got to get to negative 7. So I'm going to put the negative 3 down here and the negative 1 right here. Nope, I did that wrong. The negative 3 here and the negative 1 here. Because that gives me negative 6t. And this gives me negative 1t, which gives me the negative 7t that I'm looking for. So this would be t minus 3. And then, I should put, these are x's. Not that it matters. And then 2x minus 1. So this kind of looks like a disaster. So let me put this negative 3. And then we'll put this as negative 1 here. Okay. Let's see. You can do that, guess and check all day, and you might get really annoyed with it. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes you're going to come up with problems that have a lot more options. A lot of these are kind of simple. There's like 4 doesn't have a lot of options. You either have 4 and 1 or 2 and 2. 5 is just 5 and 1. So there's just not a lot of options. Like this one here, the only thing to multiply is to 3 or 3 and 1, and 5 is 5 and 1. So like if we did the box here, this one should go pretty quickly. 3n times n gives me 3n squared. And then I have 5 and 1. 1 has to be negative because it's got to multiply to negative 5. So I'd put the 5 here and the negative 1 here because that's 15n and that's negative 1n. And together those give me 14n. So yeah, when the numbers are prime, the box works pretty good. But then sometimes there's problems where you got to do a lot of guess and checking. It gets annoying. So I'm going to show you this other method. It's called factoring by grouping. And it works all the time. It's great. So what you're going to do is you're going to start by step number 1 is to multiply a times c. So in this case 5 times 4, and that is 20. And then you're going to list all the combinations that will multiply to 20. So the numbers that multiply to 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Okay, and they need to add up to b. So you're going to pick the two numbers that add up to b, and I'm going to choose negative 4 and negative 5 because negative 4 plus negative 5 equals negative 9, and negative 4 times negative 5 equals positive 20. Okay, this probably doesn't make a lot of sense yet, I understand. What you're then going to do is you're going to split up the negative 9s into negative 4s minus 5s. This right here still equals negative 9s. You're just changing the form of the negative 9s into something different. And you're going to throw parentheses around the first two, throw parentheses around the second two, and you're going to factor the GCF out of each one of those sets. So in this case, this first one is going to be 4s, and you have s minus 1. And then the second one is negative 5, and you have s minus 1. So you're going to divide 4s out of here and 4s out of here. You're kind of just taking out the GCF out of each one of those individually. Okay, and then these two parts in the parentheses should always be the same if you've done this right. You're going to factor that out of both terms, and this is the part that students really don't like. When you factor, if it was 4s times x minus 5 times x, if you factored out the GCF, it'd be x and then 4s minus 5. The only thing that's different is it's s minus 1 that you're dividing out. So you're dividing out s minus 1, and you're dividing out s minus 1. So you're factoring after you've factored. So, like I said, this it's called factoring by grouping. It takes a little bit of time for students to figure it out. I'll do another example here. But once you get it, it prevents you from having to do guess and check all the time. Okay, so a times c is what's up first, 2 times negative 7. The multiples of 14 are 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. They need to add to 13. One of them needs to be a negative, so negative 1 and 14 is going to be the combination, because negative 1 plus 14 equals positive 13. So 2h squared minus 1h plus 14h minus 7. Okay, we're going to split up the 13h into negative 1 plus 14. Group the first two, group the second two. The GCF out of the first is an h. You have h minus 1. And 7 is the GCF out of the second one. You have 2h minus 1. And the 2h, oh, I made a mistake. There should have been 2 there. The 2h minus 1 is the common GCF, so we're going to factor a third time now. So we're going to take out 2h minus 1, take out 2h minus 1. And when we divide that out, we're left with h plus 7. So there's your factoring by grouping. Okay, one other thing to show you guys, this is kind of what I've been talking about when the leading coefficient is negative. You're going to factor that negative 1 out. I've been trying to stress that or teach that over the past couple lessons. So you have negative and then x squared minus x minus 20. Now this is, a is 1 here, so you can just use the box like you'd normally use the box. So this is a little bit easier, two numbers that multiply to negative 20 but add to negative 1 or negative 5 and positive 4. And so you have the negative on the outside, and then you have x minus 5, x plus 4. So don't forget about the negative sign right there. That needs to be in your final answer. Okay, I'm going to do one more question here for you guys. I think, yep, just one more. So I'm going to start by factoring out this negative here. And then let's try to go with the box here. It's either going to be 2 and 2 or 4 and 1. I'm going to try 2x and 2x. I could be wrong here. I don't know. That's the one thing that I don't like about the box is you have to do some guess and check. Okay, so it's got to be, one has to be positive. So it could be 7 and negative 1, or it could be negative 7 and 1. Let's see. I need to get to negative 12. So yeah, it shouldn't matter. Negative 7 can go here, and then 1 can go there on the bottom. Let's put a 1 here. That would give me 2x, and this would give me negative 14x. Together, those give me negative 12x. So I guess I got pretty lucky here. I guessed correctly on my first try. Well, with the 2 and the 2, I should say. Once you place the numbers there, you can kind of think through it. But let's say I tried 4 and 1. There'd be no way the 7 and the 1 would work. Now, I don't want to forget about my negative sign. right here. So there you go. We'll practice this in class. Here's your assignment. So it's a learning process. So hopefully it's starting to click a little bit. Thanks, guys.